Guys, this could be some bad news for some of y'all because the hype around Supreme may be dying out and most likely is dying out. Supreme has sold a portion of their equity to a company called the Carlyle Group. They're an acquisitions company, a private equity firm. Is it a good or a bad thing? It's really hard to tell right now, and it really depends on your opinion of what direction Supreme should go in. And let's discuss some of the variables right here. The hype around Supreme may be dying pretty soon, and for some of you guys, this is some very bad news. Now, Supreme has sold a portion of their company or has been acquired by the Carlyle Group, and this looks bad as far as if you're into resale, if you're into any of the hype around Supreme, this looks kind of bad. If you're like me and you just kind of care about the fashion pieces they put out, you may be kind of neutral. And if you are somebody who can never get your hands on Supreme and have really struggled to get a hold of the items and stuff, then this may be good for you because you may be able to get some of your first Supreme pieces. Let's go ahead and discuss all these scenarios in detail. And first of all, I want to shout out T.Blake because he did kind of inspire this video. He's the first person I saw to put this information out on YouTube. So I definitely want to shout out T.Blake. He has some very good information in his video. So if you didn't see that, go check that out as well. But if not, we're going to cover some of these topics here. Now, what do I think about the Supreme acquisition or the private equity firm getting involved with Supreme? Well, I think that it looks a little bit fishy in regards of the different things going on with Supreme right now. Supreme just built a new store. Supreme probably, we don't know the exact stock of Supreme items, but I would venture to say Supreme is selling far more items right now than they ever have. You know, although Supreme is still limited, Supreme is putting far more units out right now than they ever had. And considering the addition of a new store, they're not going to come out here with a new store and not have any stock for that store. So you got to think every single garment that already was produced by all the other stores, they probably are adding, what do you guys think, maybe 200 per colorway of each garment to that store? You know, at least, right? I don't know, you know, so Supreme is going to become less and less limited even in the direction that they're going in. So now get involved some private equity firms and, you know, different acquisitions. It looks like Supreme is being groomed for a sale. You know, they're adding real estate, they're adding different capital, they're adding locations, and they're adding stock of items, they're increasing profitability, and then James Jebbia is selling a portion to a private equity firm, and this private equity firm is probably coming in and they're cleaning things up and getting ready for a big sale in which Supreme will go completely corporate. Now, guys, if it sounds like I'm speculating a little bit, I am speculating a little bit. However, I do this as a job. My career is in business strategy and consulting. So when I look at these different various acquisitions, mergers, or whatever, I can see what story is being told. You know, I could tell what they're building up. In college, all I used to do was case studies and case competition and stuff. So this type of stuff interests me a lot. And if I had to give my own synopsis on the situation, I think we're going to go through a period of time where Supreme's going to have 2 more superstar years and then followed by the company not being hype at all. Now, when companies are getting ready for an acquisition right now, if they're going to be sold to a private equity firm or go completely corporate, or the owner's going to give up the keys or whatever, very rarely do you have the same products come out afterward as you do before that. Now, sometimes the owner is still heavily involved or still the decision maker, as we would hope that James Jebbia is, because I really don't want to see Supreme's pieces change. Supreme is even a subgroup of streetwear, right? It's not into minimalism. Supreme's not into really any other lane, but it's its own lane. And that's what's kept Supreme so prominent and popular over the years. But over the past 5 years, we've just seen an explosion of Supreme. And I can't even front, like, I've been kind of on that explosion. Really, when I first got into Supreme was 2011. And, you know, so I've been on it a minute in comparison to a lot of other people out there. However, you know, I haven't been with Supreme since 1994. You know, I haven't been rocking it when it was only a skater brand or whatever. So I get that, you know, there's a lot of people who have a lot of feelings on a lot of different sides of this whole thing. And honestly, I do too. I have a lot of different feelings on it as well. You know, I make money from reselling. I've gained popularity on Instagram, you know, just rocking some wild Supreme fits. And just kind of as the brand has grown, I've grown as far as social media has gone. When I started dedicating my Instagram page to 90% Supreme items, I've probably doubled my followers. So it's the whole culture has been beneficial for me. But at the same time, it's like it won't always be that like beneficial thing. It won't always be a growth tool for YouTubers or people are on Instagram or whatever. And I understand a lot of my videos are about Supreme or about hyped up sneakers or whatever, and that's just kind of what I do on the channels. I want to give out, release information, and just drop all this information on you guys' heads. Even videos like right now, you know, I want to have these discussions with you guys and let you know kind of what's going on in the community. However, some people whose incomes are based on reselling, they're going to have the same issues happen to them as what we saw with Bape. You know, Bape is now owned by a company. You know, Bape is not owned by Nego. Nego sold Bape, and there was things that changed with Bape. You know, a lot of things that changed, and then also it became commercialized. You know, everybody can cop Bape. You know, everybody can cop Bape. That's really not what you want. When you have stuff that's really readily accessible, plus they have fakes readily accessible, which Supreme has fakes readily accessible, but when you have that much access to so much stuff, it does lose hype. So there's a lot of issues coming into play here, and you guys can see why there'd be a lot of problems for people. A lot of people do not want this. On the business side, you know, for somebody like James Jebby, right? How long is he going to be in Supreme forever? How long is he going to just keep on? You know, it's like he has to really decide, is this his baby thing that he's working on for life? Is he going to cap his profitability by having a certain amount of limited items? Or does he want to sell this and just get like, I mean, because how much do you think the acquisition of Supreme is going to cost total money? But like several $million. I've worked with some really large companies, and I know how much money they'll get behind. For example, I work with PepsiCo, right? And PepsiCo has bought Naked Juice, they've bought Kavita, they've bought, you know, Pepsi owns Muscle Milk. There's so many things that Pepsi buys, and they buy it with the intention to grow the company. If something's super limited or fits a niche market, they don't buy it. They buy it with the intention to amplify that company times a million, give it some corporate superstar status backing, and throw a lot of dollars at it, and then have this in every store around the nation. And this is what people are afraid of happening to Supreme, and this is what will happen to Supreme if it is sold off to a private equity firm, because they are not in the business of keeping something limited. They're not even in the business of keeping something hot or relevant. They're in the business of profitability. So as we see time roll on and different things are going to happen with Supreme, we're going to see more of a profits approach versus a staying relevant approach or staying limited approach or whatever. Now, will this be bad right away? No, they'll probably still produce some fire pieces. There'll still be stuff that's limited. There'll still be stuff that's hard to get. It's just as time goes on, they are going to try to look for a more profitable approach. You can even tell by building the Brooklyn store. I was just having this conversation with somebody else. You can tell by building a Brooklyn store, they have different goals in mind than they had 5 or 10 years ago. You know, 5 years ago, Supreme had the money to build another store. You know, they've had the money to build another store for years. But if you guys are Supreme resellers, you can already see, like myself, I can already see that the Supreme market for resale has gone down. Now, everything you buy, you can almost be sure that it will resell. You know, you can just buy what fucking ever, and you can be sure, with the exception of like the work pants or the cargos or whatever, but you can pretty much buy any Supreme item and be sure that it will resell. However, the price in which it resells for has been going down because there's been so much stock of Supreme stuff. Honestly, like me copping manually in the past 2 seasons, I've had better luck than I've ever had with Supreme, even before like the bots got crazy or whatever. Like I've had best luck these past 2 seasons, like copping manually. I've copped a lot of stuff manually. And guys, so the moral of this whole thing is, if Supreme is sold to a private equity firm, they want to capture the money that's taking place in the Supreme resale market. So if a reseller buys a hoodie for $150 and sells it for $300, Instead, what the private equity firm would want to do is sell 2 hoodies for $150 and make that reseller not have items to sell because they've already filled the demand. So you want to as perfectly balance demand with supply, right? To make the most amount of profits in a company, you want the supply to be exactly what the demand is. So you leave no profits on the table. Supreme, every single week, leaves profits on the table. That's why there's a resale market. Now, it's not as simple as it sounds like. There's a lot of variables and numbers that take place in going into it. We can see that, brands like Jordan Brand, where people were begging them to, make more general releases and put all these sneakers out on the market and make it easier to get and Like, if you wind the clock back to 2010, 2011, 2012, people are shitting bricks that Jordan Brand has too much limited stuff and, begging for these, retro colorways to come out in general release. And now that they're so readily available, they're sitting on shelves. But finally, I just want to wrap this up saying, if you pay your bills off Supreme reselling, you should definitely be scared of this acquisition. You should be scared of Supreme selling a portion of the company because it may mean that they're grooming up for a really big sell-off, and James Jebbia might be taking that one-time massive check, and then he may be out from there. So if you are a Supreme reseller, I would definitely be looking at other sources of income and looking at other ways to make money, other places to resell. You have to be on top of the trends to be a reseller. Honestly, if you want to be a successful reseller, you have to be on top of the trends. That's where I failed sometimes before, is that I look at some companies that I specifically like, and I don't necessarily look at companies for their money-making attributes. So I've missed opportunities in that way. Now, if you guys are somebody who you've never been able to cop Supreme and you just have been struggling to, get your hands on some Supreme items and you're just begging for it to come out, then this will be good for you. But remember what happened with Bape. Remember what happened with Jordan Brand. And just know that if you're dying for more Supreme to come out because you think you can't cop it and you can cop that shit. You can cop Supreme. You can wake up in the morning on Thursdays and you can cop Supreme. I've copped at least one item manually every week. And that just kind of wraps it up for what I want to discuss in the Supreme video. Tell me, guys, your opinion on these different things. Tell me if you'd like Supreme to become less limited. Tell me if you'd like Supreme to go back to the way it was. Tell me if you're an OG Supreme head. Tell me if you think that all these new people in the game are fucking it up. And do remember that brands, becoming successful, part of it is capturing a new audience.